I was in a dream that always scared me. Every night, the same cold fog would roll in, and I'd find myself running down a hallway that never seemed to end. Behind me, I could hear the heavy, rhythmic thud of footsteps. Something massive and shadow-like was always just a few inches from grabbing my shoulder. I would wake up drenched in sweat, my heart hammering against my ribs, terrified of the dark. For years, this dream was my shadow. It followed me through school, through my first job, and into the house I finally bought for myself. I dreaded going to sleep because I knew the hallway was waiting for me. I felt like I was running from a version of myself that I was too afraid to face. But everything changed last month. I started volunteering at a local youth shelter, working with kids who had seen more darkness in 10 years than I had in 30. There was one boy, Leo, who never spoke. He just sat in the corner with a notebook, drawing heavy, dark scribbles that looked exactly like the fog from my nightmare. One afternoon, I sat down next to him and asked what he was drawing. He looked at me with eyes that seemed far too old for his face and said, "The things that follow us only follow because they're lost too." That night, I went to sleep, and like clockwork, the hallway appeared. The fog was thicker than ever, and the heavy footsteps were louder, echoing off the walls. I started to run, but then I remembered Leo's voice. I stopped. My legs were shaking, and every instinct told me to scream, but I turned around. The shadow was right there. It was towering and featureless, a void in the shape of a man. It reached out a hand, and instead of flinching, I reached back. As soon as our fingers touched, the shadow didn't attack. It didn't growl. It simply dissolved into a soft, warm light that filled the entire hallway. For the first time in my life, the hallway had an exit. I walked through a door at the end and found myself standing in a field of tall grass under a bright summer sun. I realized then that the monster wasn't my fear. It was my loneliness, waiting for me to acknowledge it. I woke up the next morning feeling lighter than I ever have. The dream hasn't come back since. Now, when I go to the shelter, Leo doesn't draw scribbles anymore. He draws suns. And every time I see them, I'm reminded that sometimes the only way to stop the chase is to turn around and see who's behind you.